China's had to rethink its development model.
It is becoming, the aspiration is to become a kind of more service sector orientated economy.
A strong sustainable growth is better than an unsustainable high growth rate for a few years.
Well, I think that it's going to seek to promote certain kind of industries, particularly high-tech industries and consumer-orientated industries, more general business associated with the domestic market, and the aim will be to raise the efficiency of investments and the productivity of labor.
I think in all countries in the development process, first you focus on the quantity, produce more, get more people to the cities, etc. And then you need to focus more on the quality issues. The quality of those workers, their skill set, the quality of your institutions. So it is good to focus on the quality issues now. That's how I understand the Chinese structural reform attempts from now on.
So China has been a very special case in today from a theoretical and public policy point of view, because it has achieved growth levels over more than a decade that no other country in the world has been able to do. But now we're coming to the end of this phase of intense annual growth based on exports. So China, and as the economy slows down, China's had to rethink its development model and seeing how it's going to shift from exports to consumer and services domestically. It's a big challenge.
The great challenge now is that China has had sort of double-digit growth for the last 30 years, most of the time, usually about 10%. And so coming down to 6.5% or 7% is a big challenge. I think it means that China's in a more complex phase of its development. It is becoming, the aspiration is to become a kind of more service sector orientated economy. So I think really it's trying to create a kind of mixed economy, but with much stronger services and higher consumption. And the way that you measure that is much more complicated. So it's not so easy to just measure it in one figure like GDP. It's really about having a kind of all-round and holistic model.
But I don't buy that argument a lot that, it's because of China that we currently have problems in the global economy. It's not because of China, it's because of the others, basically, that we have problems. Because if you look at the growth process in China, it is obvious that if the size of your economy is only around $1 trillion or less than $1 trillion, you grow 10% or more. But when your economy size is is more than 10 trillion, about around 12 trillion something US dollars, then of course that growth rate decreases a little bit, and it's not that bad, It is something good. It's good to consolidate. It's good for China to consolidate what China has achieved so far, and a little bit growth slowdown in that process is not bad. It all depends on how you are going to manage this process, because slowing down in this case, as you are preparing for this more quality enhanced new period, when you are preparing that, slowing down means consolidating your base and getting ready for the new leap, basically. So it's not something that, of course, it is good for the global economy, for China to grow more strongly, but that should be a sustainable growth, basically. Sustainable in all senses that we are discussing now. It has to be sustainable, so that economically sustainable, so it has to continue like this. and it has to be, environmentally sustainable, and it has to be socially sustainable also at the same time. So I think in all meanings of the term, a strong sustainable growth is better than an unsustainable high growth rate for a few years. That's how I see that.
I think these structural reforms are very important because what we know about China is that China has grown very fast for a very long time. What the world does not know is whether this growth will last, whether it will be sustainable, and whether it will be consistent with the needs of the environment. It's very important for the world because China today is the second most important economy after the US. So if China is able to provide the world with a development model where high growth can be accompanied by sustainability and equity, then countries next in line, like my own country, like India, can learn a lot of good lessons from that and not go through the same cycle of growth, then inequality, then social tension, and then you address it. So we can learn a lot from this particular change in Chinese policy.